as an indicator of the sort of society that we're now living in, job centres are now advertising for young girls from 18 plus who can earn £700 a week if they strip naked on webcams and have sexually explicit conversations with customers online, and also perform sexual acts in front of a webcam for the punters who've decided that they want to avail themselves of their services. This is exactly the sort of society that we have created as a result of the ideology of globalism. Individuals are no longer human beings, they're pieces of meat, they're interchangeable economic units who can be shuffled around the globe wherever some corporate body decides that it needs some workers to move into. There are no nations anymore, there are no borders anymore, there are no people anymore, you're just an economic unit. But have you noticed how these adverts are always for young women? Okay, now we live in a society that supposedly is anti-sexism, which is pro-equality. Now I want to know, why are the job centres only advertising these jobs for young women? I think that's probably one of the most sexist and disgusting things that they could probably do. Why is it that they're not advertising for fat middle-aged men to be able to do exactly the same thing? Now if they were, just to make sure that this society is more equal, I am prepared to do lap dancing and to strip off in front of a webcam for anyone who wishes to see a middle-aged man, overweight, basically do that sort of thing. I believe that this is fighting for equality. But on a serious note, what sort of society is it that we have created that turns our young women into pieces of meat for the entertainment of rich people? This is a form of sexual slavery. This is, you can just imagine a few hundred years ago, the slave owners going out and buying the attractive young female slaves to take them back to use them for their sexual entertainment in their own private premises. This is exactly the same thing. The only difference is that today it's being advertised in British job centres as a career for young women. And the money that they're being paid, £700 a week, that will obviously tempt some young women into doing it. Now, just because we have a society that no longer has any values or no longer has any morality, doesn't mean that government has a duty to facilitate immorality. It doesn't mean that government have a duty to allow the corporations that want to reduce individuals to tiny little pieces of meat to be used and disposed of as the corporations and as individual rich people who have the money to go on these perverted sites want to use them by. Doesn't mean government has a duty or a role in facilitating such things. I'm not saying that the government has a moral duty to turn around and impose its own moral vision, because the moral vision of the perverts that run this government would be a cesspit of a country, just as much of the cesspit of parliament that we've got. So therefore what I'm saying is that we should never put our country and our society in a position where what happens is that we've turned our young people into pieces of meat for corporations and other individuals to sexually exploit. It's absolutely disgusting. What sort of effect is this going to have on families? Imagine these young girls when their families find out. There are enough perverts in this country operating all over the country as it is. We have Muslim paedophile gangs proliferating across the country, which is being hidden and minimised by the government and minimised by the media and minimised by the BBC. For example, last week BBC Shropshire had a series of news items concerning Muslim paedophile gangs grooming in Shropshire and Warwickshire. No mention of the identity of the individuals involved in these paedophile gangs. So basically what we're seeing is a society that is degenerated to the point where the individual is just regarded as a sexual plaything, as a piece of meat. We see the corporations peddling lap dancing equipment for young kids to use, selling sexual underwear for little girls to wear. We have perverted sluts like Jordan who think it's acceptable to dress as a schoolgirl to blur the line between adult sexuality and child sexuality. But the most disgusting thing is that adults buy this shit. This is the sort of sick society that we've become. We have a Lib Dem government in power that supports 16-year-olds being allowed to make pornographic movies. 16 years old. Okay, they're still children. They can't go to war, they can't buy a drink, they can't buy cigarettes, but they can have gang sex sessions on video and sell them for entertainment in shops. That is the sort of sick society that we have created. But as I say, it's never ever aimed anyone other than exploiting young women. Okay? The day that we have an advert for wanted, 55-year-old, overweight, asthmatic, balding, fat-spotting middle-aged man to strip off on webcam for the voyeuristic entertainment of women, then I would understand a society which is overcoming its inbuilt discrimination on the grounds of sex. But we never have that, do we? What we have is a society that turns around and says, oh, sexism and misogyny are absolutely unacceptable, but at the same time wants to sell our children and our young women as sex objects to the sick and depraved corporate market created by modern internet technology. Is it any wonder we have sex slaves being trafficked into the country? Is it any wonder we have vast prostitution gangs coming into the country? When the depraved run our society, we have a depraved society. A degenerate culture creates a degenerate people. So this is the society that our politicians have deliberately engineered and deliberately created. As I say, on the grounds of equality and fairness, I am prepared to get my kit off if you get in contact with me and offer me a sufficiently large amount of money. Bidding starts from 10 grand plus. If you want to see me do some sexy lap dancing, we're talking 15 grand. Put your bids in now. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance. Stay alive.